Welcome into DRF Daily, DRF Sportsbooks betting live stream, coming at you every single day. If you're in Iowa, download the DRF Sportsbook app. I don't know what you're doing. Why haven't you done it already? Download the DRF Sportsbook app in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store, or you can check us out at ia.drf.com. We're going to Ole Miss against LSU. Ole Miss has been chugging along this season, seemingly under the radar. They're 7-0 this year. They're number 7 in the nation, and it just seems like you wouldn't know that much from this Lane Kiffin squad. All the talk's been on the resurgence of Tennessee. It's been on Georgia's dominance. It's been on Alabama. But Ole Miss is right there in the thick of it too, can pull off a couple big wins and can find themselves in the thick hunt of the college football playoffs. But it starts today, and it's going to be a little bit difficult as they're 1.5-point dogs on the road against unranked LSU. LSU's 5-2 this year. They lost their home opener, and then they lost at home against Tennessee. I think Ole Miss is a very similar team. Ole Miss averages 41 points per game. It's just really interesting. 75% of the public is on LSU. Ole Miss opened at -1.5. According to Vegas odd makers, Ole Miss is the better team. And somehow, some way, whether it's the public, whether it's the sharp money, LSU has become the 1.5-point favorites. I'm all over this one. It seems fishy, right? Like you smell it. It smells weird. It smells like it's been out in the sun for a little bit, and it's a little bit fishy. And normally that tells you to follow the smell of the fish and go LSU -1.5. But I just don't get how. Mississippi, Ole Miss is 12th in EPA this season. LSU is 33rd. This is the first time they've been a dog all year, not to mention a whopping majority of the public is all over LSU. I can't stomach that. Ole Miss has been a really solid team this season. I mean, they are an efficient offense. Look at that. 6.8 yards per play, 8.8 yards through the air, and that's exactly where LSU's weakness is. LSU averages 7.6 yards allowed per completion. You're telling me that LSU secondary is going to stop this aerial attack of Ole Miss consistently and win this game by 2 points? No. Ole Miss, not even Ole Miss +1.5. We're on Ole Miss money line at +100. There's absolutely no way Ole Miss loses this game. I'm stamping it right now. Ole Miss is the better team. Our power line thinks that at -3. Both of our game simulators think Ole Miss wins. I don't see a scenario where LSU defends home field in this game. Give me Ole Miss. Screw the +1.5. Give me Ole Miss money line because I think this line is absolutely disrespectful to the Rebels and to the Lane Kiffin. Give me Ole Miss all day, every day. And going from there, a line that you might think is disrespectful. Alabama's 21-point favorites at home today against Mississippi State. Alabama coming off of one of the best games in college football history, 52-49 loss to Tennessee. But I think that tells me, and I hate trying to get into the heads of these college football athletes. I hate trying to get into the head of these college football coaches, but I'm going to try and do it. I think this is a revenge game, folks. I think this is the spot. You talk about the spots. You just lost this heartbreaking game in a rivalry game. You've been beating them for 15 years. I know this was no easy week of practice from Nick Saban. This Alabama team, they just dropped from I think they were number 3 to number 6. And now all of a sudden they're on the outside looking in on college football playoff. They got a couple hard games, but this isn't one of them. Alabama is going to cruise to a victory against Mississippi State. Look, Mississippi State, fantastic for them. Number 24 in the nation, 5-2. All that's fine and good. But there ain't no way they're not losing by 28 to Alabama tonight. There is no way. 7 p.m. kickoff under the lights. Bryant-Denny Stadium. Give me Alabama -21. Alabama's 4-0 against the spread and straight up since 2018 against Mississippi State. Alabama is 11-1 against the spread after allowing 24 points or more in a first half the previous game. That's exactly what they did, and they allowed 52 in total on the game. With all of that, Mississippi State's coming off a 10-point loss at Kentucky. They're on the road again, and Alabama, an even more hostile environment. Alabama -21 is 100% the play. Our power line makes this line -21, so you know there's value, or at least you're not losing any value on Alabama at -21. And both of our game simulators think Alabama wins this game, one by 23 and the other one by 24. And I think that's about right. And with both of those game estimates, they cover the spread. Give me Alabama in a complete revenge spot. I feel bad for Mississippi State. They're going to get run over as Alabama looks to put an exclamation point right after a disappointing period off that Tennessee loss. And last but certainly not least, Kansas State at TCU. This game, I was wanting to lead Kansas State, right? Like, I just felt like Kansas State deserved a little bit of respect. Kansas State has Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn. Together, they've combined for, if you take Adrian Martinez's passing yards, Deuce Vaughn's rushing yards, they have over 1,500 yards combined so far this season and 7 touchdowns. Not to mention in Kansas State's upset over Oklahoma, Adrian Martinez ran for 148 yards and 4 touchdowns. But look, TCU's defense might not be fantastic. They allow 27 points per game. It doesn't really matter because they score 46. But the strength of their team is on the line of scrimmage. And if they can get into the backfield and force Adrian Martinez to kind of shuffle his feet a little quicker, make decisions quicker than he's expected, I expect TCU to win this game. And I don't see Deuce Vaughn having a huge impact. And I don't even see Adrian Martinez's legs having a huge impact. TCU holds opponents to 3.7 yards per rush, 135 yards per game. Overall, this TCU defense allows 5.5 yards per play. Kansas State's defense is a little bit better, and if we're looking at EPA, though, Kansas State has the better defense, but not as good of an offense, and it's the vice versa for TCU. Kansas State overall 34th in EPA, TCU's 13th. It's a 21-spot difference between the two schools. TCU's defense, like I said, will be tested, and if Kansas State has any chance of winning this game, if they want to win this game, it's going to have to be through the air. TCU's defense allows 265 yards per game, 7.3 yards per completion. But at the same time, TCU's offense is so electric, I don't know if it matters what this defense necessarily does if they're able to stop Kansas State on a consistent basis. I don't know if Kansas State's defense will be – Kansas State's defense is really solid. They're 16th in the nation in EPA per game on defense, but TCU's offense averages over 520 yards per game, 46 points per game, 7.7 yards per play, and they seem like, on paper, they're the better team. Not to mention our power line our game simulator likes TCU not only to win, but to kind of blow out Kansas State. Kansas State comes into this one 5-1. Their lone loss was a weird loss to Tulane. TCU comes into this one 6-0. I think being at home is a big factor for TCU tonight. If we're using the classic thoughts of home field advantage is worth about 3 points, they're saying TCU's half a point better. I think TCU's a lot better of a team than Kansas State for all things considered. With our game simulators showing me that it's a blowout, I'm going to have to side with TCU minus 3.5. I really wanted to go K-State. If I'm being honest, I was kind of using this, if you see here on my, there we go, over here on my left to you guys, right in real time. I used the line movements. I used what the public was doing to kind of guide me. 3.5 points isn't too much either way. I like both teams. However, I think K-State, in order for them to win, Adrian Martinez has to have another Oklahoma-esque game, and I don't know if you can expect 148 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground from your starting quarterback. And then when I saw 74% of the public was on Kansas State, there was just no way I could back Kansas State at plus 3.5. I had to go TCU minus 3.5. And you look at the line movement here, a lot of movement. TCU opened at minus 4. They jumped at one point to minus 5. They went back down to minus 3.5, and now they've come in and kind of settled down at minus 3.5. Might be a little bit more movement before this game kicks off at 8 p.m. tonight, depending on where the public goes. Shout out the underbetters. It seems like it's relatively low at 54.5, and only 8% of the public's on the under. Yeah, maybe Vegas knows something there. I'm not sure. It seems like this game is bound for the overs. Both of these offenses are pretty solid. TCU's offense could probably get the over by themselves, averaging 46 points per game. Just if we're basing this on averages, it's the over all day, every day. But interesting stuff there. But we're going TCU minus 3.5 at home against Kansas State in a Big 12 bout. That's going to be a fantastic nightcap for today. It is a wonderful day of college football. I cannot wait. We're 28 minutes away from the noon kickoffs. just get ready, buckle up, and let's have some fun. Real quick, Syracuse-Clemson kicks off in 28 minutes at noon. We're on Syracuse plus 14 at Clemson in Death Valley. I think Syracuse, they have the history on their side. They're 7-0 against the spread in October. Dino Babers is 9-0 against the spread after gaining 6.25 or more yards per play in 2 straight games. Syracuse offense is clicking. Clemson's defense is good, but I don't know if Clemson can necessarily hold them down for an entirety of the game. Maybe it's a backdoor cover. Maybe it's something like that. But Syracuse at plus 14 for me is the play. Ole Miss plus 1.5 at LSU. This is completely disrespectful to the Fighting Lane Kiffins, folks. Ole Miss is going to go down to LSU, and they're going to destroy LSU at home like Tennessee did to LSU. It's going to be LSU's 3rd loss of the season. You're telling me LSU is a favorite against Ole Miss? No. Number 7, undefeated. Ole Miss plus 1.5 all day, every day. I feel the most confident on Ole Miss. Screw that plus 1.5, folks. Go money line. Ole Miss money line at plus 100 is the play for this game. Ole Miss money line all day, every day. Then we're going into Alabama minus 21 against Mississippi State. I feel bad for Mississippi State, folks. Alabama's in a revenge spot. They want to get this one back. They're going to want to repay. They're going to imagine Tennessee's face on Mississippi State. They are going to walk into Mississippi. They're going to walk into Bryant-Denny Stadium and just absolutely destroy Mississippi State tonight. There's nothing they can do about it. 21 seems low, right? I'd go 28, maybe even 35. But give me Alabama minus 21. And TCU minus 3/5. Don't know why I put that instead of a point. But TCU minus 3.5 tonight against Kansas State. I think this is going to be a really good game. I think it's a fantastic nightcap. I think this Big 12 bout will provide a lot of drama. But I think TCU has what it takes to pull it out late. And if you're relying on the legs of Adrian Martinez against a really solid rush defense, I don't like your chances. Sorry, Kansas State. So, my name is Jack Fitzpatrick. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to DRF Daily. DRF Sportsbooks betting live stream coming at you every day that there is football. We'll be back tomorrow around 11, around noon, breaking down the NFL slate, Sunday slate. It's not a great slate, folks, but there's money to be made.